Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Destiny and welcome back to another video in the hotel management system using Django. And in this one, we're going to go ahead and start up by creating register authentication. And this one, you're going to be able to register using their full name, email address, password 1 and password 2. Then we will authenticate this information in the back end and actually register and log the user in. That is what we'll be doing. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the video. Do make sure to drop a like, consider subscribing, as it really means the world to me. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing I will do is go ahead and open up my code. I will come over to the folder where the code is stored. Open up the HMS tutorial with code, which is Visual Studio Code. You can also open this up with Sublime Text or Atom if that's your default code editor. And after this is opened up, you can go ahead and spin up your server, or you can dive right into coding what we need. So I want you to open up the user auth app. Let me zoom this in. Hopefully you guys can see what's going on. I hope this is clear enough. So I will open this up and open up views py. And over here, I will start writing the feature that we need to actually register a user. So the very first thing we need to do is go ahead and import our models. I will say from user auth.models, I want to go ahead and import. Let us start off by importing the user and also importing the profile. For now, I think that's pretty much what we need. Let's go ahead and define a new function, and I will call this one register view. Okay, so register view, and we need to go ahead and pass in a parameter in here. I'll pass in the request parameter, and over here, we need to go ahead and firstly define a form. So let me pass. Now, we need a way to actually let Django allow users type in their username, password, and informations like that. And the best way to do that is firstly by maybe using raw input fields in your HTML or using Django forms. One of the recommended ways will be using Django forms, because you will not have to manually write out verifications and things like that to actually check if the form is valid and things like that if you are using the Django form. But if you're using raw input fields, then you will have to manually validate those input fields to make sure that the data that the user is bringing in is actually right and correct. And in this tutorial, for the register view, we will work with Django form, and for the login view, we will work with raw input form. So you guys see how these two things work together. All right. And in case you prefer working with the input field, you will see how to work with it. Or let's say you prefer working with the register view, then you will also see how to work with it. So for this one, we will be working with forms. That means we need to go ahead and create a form. In your user auth app, right click and create a new file. And I want you to call this one forms.py. And hit enter on your keyboard to go ahead and open up or create the file. And after that's done, in here, we need to import a couple of things. For the first thing that we need is from Django import forms. That's the very first thing that we need. And also we need to import one more thing that will be from Django.contrib.auth, not admin.auth.forms. We need to go ahead and import user creation form. All right. And let's also import our models from user auth.models. We want to import the user app and also import the profile app. As simple as that. And after all these are done, we need to create a new class, and we will call this one user register form. This is a class name. You can actually call it whatever you want, but I want to call mine user register form just to stick with naming conventions. Okay. And in here, we need to inherit from the user creation form. So why are we inheriting from the user creation form? That is because if you guys remember in the previous video, we actually created a custom model here in the user auth models py. As you can see, we created a custom user model over here. Now, in the forms py, we want Django to be able to actually form the register form based on this user model that we created over here in the models py. And let me show you guys what I mean by that. So if you pass in the user creation form, that means Django will by default give back the default fields that are needed in registration, which will be username, I think username, email address, if that is specified, password 1 and password 2. but we actually want to also include full name to the field that a user will be filling in when they want to register, because we have added that to the model over here. And now to be able to fill this full name into that form that a user will use to register, we need to actually inherit from the user creation form. All right. So what we need to do over here is go ahead and create a class. I will create a class meta, and I will pass in the model that I want to interact with. That will be the user model. So based on this user model, then we need to go ahead and put in some fields in here. So fields, I will start off by putting in the full name and also the user name and also the email and the password 1 and the password 2. So just like I've told you guys before, the reason why we can pass in password 1, password 2, and these fields are not explicitly defined here in the user model is simply because we are passing in the user creation form. So the user creation form, when you pass this in, we will recognize that actually you need the password 1 and the password 2 fields to create a user. So it's just like saying when we call the user register form now, we will display whatever form that the user creation form gives us based on those fields over here. Now, this is pretty much what we want to do. Nothing much. All we just need to do now is go ahead and get back to the views POI, and we can start working with this over here. But I will still show you guys some things later. For example, if you're working with the Django forms, then let's say you want to add a class to an input field, or you want to add an ID. I know it will be kind of difficult because this is a form. There is no place where you're actually adding in a raw input field that you can simply add class attributes and IDs and things like that. So I will show you guys how to add classes, IDs, and things like whatever attributes you want to add. Okay. But for now, let's get back to the views PY and continue writing our code over here. So the very first thing that we will do is go ahead and define a form variable, and I will inherit from the user register form. But we have not imported this. We need to go ahead and import it from user auth.forms. We need to import the user register form. Okay, so you import the user register form and we initialize it. All right. So after initializing this, then we need to go ahead and display it in our template. The very first thing that you can do is just go ahead and create a context and pass in the form key and the form value, which is this one. And also we need to go ahead and return a template. So return render, we're passing request in here, and the name of the template will be user auth sign up.html. So this pretty much means that we will have a folder called user auth in the templates folder. Over here in the templates folder, right click, create a new folder, call it user auth. Then in the user auth folder, we will have another template called sign up HTML. In the user auth folder here, right click, create a new file, then call it sign up HTML. That's pretty much everything that we need. But if you go ahead and run this code now, you will not be able to call this form in the template. That is because you need a way to communicate to the template that this form has been created. And the very best thing to do is copy this context over here and pass it alongside this to the template. So whatever that's passed in here will be rendered in the template. Okay, so this is done. Now we need to go ahead and create URL. Creating URL in Django is pretty much a way to actually tell Django to navigate to a particular page. I'm sure you must have visited a website on the internet before. Let's say you want to visit facebook.com. That is a URL. Now, if you want to go to your profile in Facebook, then you have to go to a link that might look like this, facebook.com/ then maybe your username. My username is Destiny, maybe facebook.com/Destiny, or let's say your username is John, facebook.com/John. So URL pretty much helps the website get different pages and different informations that it will show. Okay. So now we need a URL to actually tell Django that whenever that URL gets visited to show our register page. Now, how do we go ahead? How do we do this? The very first thing to do is in the user auth, I want you to create a new file call this one urls.py. In the urls.py, I want you to import from Django.urls, import parts. That's the first thing. And I also want you to import the view that we just created. That is from user auths. I want you to import views. Okay. Now let's go ahead and create the URL. I will say, firstly, let's define the app name. So what is the app name that we're working on? It's called user auths. Now let's define the URL patterns. This one over here, URL patterns, and you open up a list just like this. You see, open up a list or 2 square brackets and hit enter so that we have a space to type in some things here. Then I want you to create a path. This path should be, let's just say, whenever we visit the sign up page or the sign up URL, we want to show this view that we just created that is called register view. And the name of this should actually be, let's just still call it sign up. Okay. Don't worry, throughout this tutorial, you guys will understand where we use the name, where we use the views, and why we use this. All right. So this is pretty much it. We have created the URL. Now, when you copy this and make sure your server is running, py manage py run server. So if I come over to /sign up, this will not still work. As you can see, it says page not found. That is because we need a way to tell Django that this URL has been created and that it should use this URL as the register page. Now, how do we do this? I want you to open up the HMSPRJ, open up the URLs py, and just down here, I want you to create a new comment and call it user auths URLs. It's just a comment to signify that whatever URL that will pass in here now will be for the user auths URLs. There is nothing special about it. It's just my own way of organizing things so that we can easily get, URLs and things like that whenever we need them. Okay. But instead of naming this user auths URLs, let's just name this custom URLs. Okay. Then over here, I need to go ahead and include the new URL that I just created in my URLs py user auths app. And to include that, you firstly want to import the include method over here. Then I will pass in path user, and over here I will call include. And what is the name of the app? It's called user auths. What is the name of the file where the URLs are stored? It's called URLs. This is pretty much what you want to do. Now, remember how we visited? Okay, I think there is an issue. It says no module named user auths. That is this one over here. So what's the problem? I will break off from here and run it one more time to see what we have. Okay, there you go. It's working now. So now remember how we visited this page initially by coming over to port 8000/sign up. This time around, because I have added this user / over here, that means you need to come over to port 8000/user/ then sign up, which is this one that we have over here. Hit enter on your keyboard, and there you go. This is what we have, a blank page. And why do we have a blank page? That is because in the sign up HTML, we don't have anything in here. If we say H1 and call that register, get back here and refresh, what do you see? Register. This is perfect. Now, how do we display the registration form over here so that a user can actually fill in their information and register? Remember in the views py that we have this form thing that we created over here that we passed into the template. All you need to do is call this key form, come over to the sign up page, and you need to wrap this in 2 curly brackets or variable tag, then paste in the form there and refresh. What do you notice? Now we have all the forms filled that we need. The full name, the username, the email, the password 1, and the password 2. But this isn't looking good. How do we make it look good for the time being? I will go ahead and add in a filter and call this filter table. Actually, there is a filter that is also called .asp, which means as paragraph. That's how we want to show it. Refresh this, and as you can see, everything is now on the same page. That is perfect. If you look at this form, one thing that is missing is the button to create an account. So we need to create a button, and we will call this one sign up, or you could call it register or come up with a cool name for it. And you need to pass in a type of submit to this button so that it will recognize that you're trying to submit a form. Did I just mention form? That means we actually need to wrap all this over here in a form tag, because you're trying to submit a form, a registration form. All this needs to be in a form tag. So Django can actually know, okay, we are trying to submit a form. Then Django will check for the method, for the action, for the button type, and things like that. Wrap this in a form, get back here, refresh this. Now, when I click the submit button, it should reload the page. That is because the default behavior of a form when it gets submitted is to reload the page. Click on this, but it firstly says that we need to fill in all this. I will fill all this in real quick and click on sign up. What do you notice? It reloads the page and it appends all the data in here in the URL. But if you look at this, that's pretty much not secure. How do we go ahead to pass the data to Django or to the server instead of passing the data to the URL? Now, if you want to pass the data to the URL, that means you need to set your form method as get. But if your form method is set as post, it will not pass the data in here. Instead, it will pass the data to a server. Now, how do we set the form method as post? Remember this form tag that we created? Alongside the action attribute, I want you to add another one called method and call post. So we've got get, and we've got post. Now, I will go with post. It could be lowercase, it could be uppercase. It doesn't really matter. Now, if I refresh this page one more time, let me get rid of everything that I have in the URL over here. Fill all this up and submit. Now, what do you notice? It says forbidden and it does not populate the URL tag any longer. That is nice. So why do we get the forbidden error? That is because Django is trying to pass, or our HTML form is trying to pass some data to Django or to a server. But Django is kind of refusing to get that information. And it's saying something like the CSRF verification failed. Now, why is Django saying the CSRF verification failed? That is because Django is trying to protect us from things like cross-site forgery. Okay? And for us to tell Django, hey Django, this over here, or this form they were trying to submit is actually okay and we want you to accept data from the form, we need to go ahead and pass in a CSRF token that Django will be using to actually verify this form. Now let's refresh this page one more time. Let's fill up this form and submit. What do you notice now? We don't get the error any longer. It just reloads the page. And in case you guys are asking what extension I'm using over here to fill the form automatically, it's called Form Filler. You can download it from Chrome extension or Mozilla extension or Edge or whatever browser you're using. I don't know. Okay. Now we need a way to actually get the full name, the username, the email, the password, and the password confirmation. Get all this information, send it back to Django, then Django will process it. But before we do this, I want to show you guys something. You can see that in our HTML field, we actually have only form as P over here. We don't have anything like creating custom inputs like this, where we could actually put placeholder and say something like enter pin and add a class and maybe say BTN success, or maybe add an ID and name and things like that. No, we don't have that kind of opportunity to do that, to add placeholders to this or add custom classes or things like that. But the good news is with Django, you can actually add placeholders to this over here. How do we do that? And after we've done that, then we'll go ahead and process the form and actually register a user. I want you guys to get back to the forms PY. Remember, that's what we're working on. Then I want you to come over here and create a new variable full name. This should be exactly the name of your model. Now we are trying to add a placeholder to the full name. How do we do this? I want you guys to type out forms dot, what field is it? It's a char field. And in here, we're trying to add a widget. So we have to say widget should be equal to forms dot text inputs. There is number inputs, there is text area, there is text inputs for things like char fields. So text inputs, open up two brackets or open up a bracket. And in here, we need to pass in attributes. So attributes are things like placeholders, classes, IDs, name, disabled, things like that. So let's start off by actually passing in a placeholder. And I will call this placeholder enter full name. Let's allow our server to reload one more time. Okay, now let's get back here and refresh the page. And what do you notice? Enter full name. So you could go ahead and pass in all other field placeholders for this form. For example, we've got the, let me get this. We've got the username, right? So you could say enter username. We've also got the email and things like that. So I want you guys to do that as a task. You could pause the video, go ahead and fill all that in. Make sure that the placeholders are all showing up over here. And after that, you should be done. How about you want to add a class and ID? Just come over here to the last quotation mark, create a comma, then create a new class. It should be in a string. And also go ahead and add in your class and say something like a custom class. Now, how do we actually see that this class gets added when we can't actually see anything here? If you open up the source code by hitting Ctrl U or Command U on your keyboard and locate the full name, you can see that this actually created an input which automatically has an ID of ID full name and class a custom class, placeholder enter full name, name full name. That's perfect. So after this, I think we are pretty much done. Let's go ahead and start working with processing the form data. Now I need to go ahead and open up my views PY one more time. And the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and check, or we need to go ahead and grab whatever that was passed into this form. Remember this form over here? Whatever that was passed into this form, like the full name, the username, the email, password, and password confirmation, we want to grab those informations. Now, how do we do that? Remember this form equal to user register form that we instantiated initially? If you type out request.post in here, then it will grab whatever that gets typed here. As simple as that. So request.post or none, or maybe if nothing gets typed in there, and that should be it. Let's go ahead and print this to see what we have. I will say print form. So now let's fill our form one more time and submit. Now, if we get that down here, what do you see? As you can see, it's actually showing the form here in the inputs. That is amazing. So after getting all the information, let's go ahead and actually check if all the data that was passed into that form was valid. Now you need to run if form dot is valid. Then we need to go ahead and grab all the informations. But before we do that, let's save the form. So I will say form.save, and that should be it. The form has been saved. Now to grab the full name, we need to say form.cleaned-data.get, and we will pass in the full name. Now we could go ahead and print this so you guys can see what we have. Full name should be full name. Let your server reload one more time. And over here, let's fill this in and hit sign up. Okay, it says function object has no attribute get, but let's see if it actually got the full name. Okay, yeah, since we did not pass this in, it will not get the full name. So this is the issue. As you can see over here, it should be cleaned data.get, not clean password1.get. Now let's see one more time. There you go. Our page reloads and it says user with this username already exists and user with this email already exists. That means this has already got saved to the back end or to the admin. Let me log into my admin real quick. And actually that's destiny@gmail.com. Come over to the user. And what do you notice? Now we've got a couple of users over here. We've got this user with their full name, their email. They don't have a phone number, and this also. Okay. So we missed to actually add the phone number field here. I will say phone. Okay. let this reload one more time. Then when we get back here and refresh this page, now we can see the phone over here. That is nice. So if I fill this in again and sign up, it creates a user. And if I refresh my admin page, you can see that now we have a user with a phone number, with the gender is other, this. That is actually nice. And over here, we can see that it prints the full name as Patricia Lawrence. That is amazing. So it will automatically also create a profile for that user. You can see over here, but it does not assign the full name to the user. So I will show you guys how to do this. Now let's keep registering this user. We are now actually done. Get rid of the print statement that we just wrote. We grab the full name. We also need a couple more data. Grab the phone, grab the email, and finally we grab the password. So why are we actually getting this password? That is because we want to log users in after they create an account. And how do we do that? Firstly, we want to import a couple of things. I will say from Django.contrib.auth, import, authenticate, and login. So import, authenticate, and login. Now, after a user gets created, remember we just created the user, we need to firstly go ahead and authenticate that user by saying user, which is the new user instance, should be equal to authenticate, and we need to pass in the email should be equal to email, and the password should be equal to password. Now, what does this mean? This authenticate method over here is pretty much what's used to log in users, or to actually authenticate the data that we will use to log in users. And remember that we've actually tweaked our model to accept email and password as the login data instead of username and password. That means we need to pass in the email and password that we just got from the form that a user filled in and send it to authenticate. Then finally, we need to go ahead and log in the user. As simple as that, with the model that we just import, with the method that we imported, not the model. And after that, we are done. Let's go ahead and show a message. Messages.success. We need to firstly import the messages. So you need to say from Django.contrib, you need to import messages. There you go. And messages.success, you need to pass a request and say something like, let's use an F formatted string. So we will call their name. We will say, hey, then call full name and say something like, maybe, I don't know, maybe your account has been created successfully. Your account has been created successfully. Okay. And after that, let's go ahead and automatically populate the profile full name with the user information that we just got over here. How do we do that? Remember that we imported the profile. So we need to say profile should be equal to profile.objects.get, and we will say user should be equal to request.user. Remember that we have already logged in a user from over here. That means a user is now logged in when the code reads and gets to this moment, which means in the next line, we can go ahead and grab in a user profile based on whatever user that's logged in. That is what we just did right now. Then what we need to do is go ahead and populate the full name. So we will say profile.fullname should be equal to what? Full name. And also profile.phone should be equal to what? Phone. And that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and save the profile. I just want you guys to know that the profile model has the full name and gender and phone. Remember that. So we will be working with the gender when we start working with updating profile and things like that. So with this now, we are pretty much done. We need to then go ahead and redirect the user to somewhere. We'll firstly need to import redirect. Add a comma over here alongside the render and import redirect. And where do we want to redirect the user to? Now, let's just say hotel index, which is the home page. Now, this home page doesn't exist just yet. I will show you guys how to create this later. And with this, we're pretty much done with everything that we want to do for the registration authentication. The only thing that's left is this. We want to check if a user is logged in. We don't want them to access the register page. So if request.user.is authenticated, this is the way of checking if a user is logged in Django. Then we need to firstly show a message that says something like, you're already logged in. Let's be a warning. Let's not be a success. Let's say, you are already logged in. Okay, we can start this off with the uppercase Y and end this off with a full stop. Now, if a user is logged in and they access the register page, let's return them back to the hotel homepage. As simple as that. And with this now, we are pretty much done with the code. Let's go ahead and work with actually making the templates look better. This is the register page. If I visit this page one more time now, you will see that it should return me to a page that doesn't exist because it's trying to take me away from the register page since I am logged in. There you go. Hotel is not a registered namespace. Let's start off by fixing this issue, which means we need to create another view for the hotel. I will come over to the hotel, come over to views PY, and over here, I want you guys to define a new view, call it index, and it will take in requests. Then I want you to pass a template, return, render. Remember how we did this before? There will be a folder called hotel, and in that folder called hotel, there will be a page called, I don't know, maybe hotel.html. Okay, it's up to you what you want to call that. I will just call mine hotel HTML. Let me show you guys a trick. Copy the hotel and the hotel HTML alongside with a slash. Just copy everything in here. Come over to the templates folder, right click, click on new file, and paste what you just copied. It will automatically create a folder, and in that folder, it will automatically create the file name. You see? That's very handy too. And after that, if we get back here and refresh this page, it says hotel is not still a registered namespace. That is because we need to still do the same thing that we did for URLs here in the hotel. You can copy everything that we have in the URLs user auth, come over to the hotel app, create a new file, call it user or urls.py instead, paste what we just copied, and change up a couple of things like the user auth should now be hotel, and the sign up should now be index. This one over here, you could leave it blank because we want when the user visits the blank page, it should show the home page. And this should be hotel.views import, what was it called? Index. All right, we're almost done. Then finally, we need to go ahead and register this URL in the main URL file. Remember how we did this before by including. I want you guys to leave this one as blank because we want when a user visits the home page without anything to see the data there actually. Then here I will just pass in hotel.urls and add a comma so we don't have a problem. And let's refresh this page. There you go. This is what we have. So over here in the hotel page, we can now do things like let's say requests.user.username, and let's reload this. There you see it says Destiny. So we can now say something like h1 and we say welcome back Destiny. Call the name of the user that's logged in. See, welcome back Destiny. So what if a user is not logged in? Let me open up this on an incognito browser. You see, if I come over to the index page, it just says welcome back and it does not show anything over here. So how do we actually create something that actually goes maybe to the register page and say something like welcome back, login or register? Now we firstly need to check if a user is authenticated. If request.user.is authenticated, then that's when we want to show this with their username. Else, then we want to show something like login. Remember, we're doing this in the h1 tag, which is not recommended. Let's pull all this out of the h1 tag. So leave only the h1 tag the way it is. Okay. Else, we say something like welcome back, then prompt them to log in. So over here we have an A tag that says register and another one that says login. For now, we don't have the login, but this is what we now have. You see, welcome back, register, and login. But if a user is logged in, it shows only welcome back and maybe a logout button. Log out. Reload. See, logout, login. So this is nice. How do we make this clickable? So when we click on this, we go to the register page. In order to do that, in the register over here, I want you guys to, you can either say /user/sign-up like this. You see, that will still work. When you click on this, it takes you to the register page. But that is not the Django recommended way of doing this. Instead, use a URL tag. I want you guys to open up two braces with two percentage sign in them. And also you could go ahead and put in the URL keyword in there and call the namespace of the URL. So the namespace of the URL is sign up. Whatever you passed in here, that is what you should put in here. Let's refresh one more time. It says sign up isn't found. That is because, remember, we have app name here. You need to call the app name before calling this. But if you don't have this app name, for example, let's get rid of that. Then you will see that this will work. But I like using the app name just to differentiate things and make things readable to whoever will be using the code in the future. So over here, we need to say user auth, then a colon, then sign up. Refresh, should still work. Click on this, we are getting back here. So that's pretty much it. As you guys can see, everything seems to be working well. We can now sign up a new user. It takes us to the home page. Okay, yeah, I think we have an issue. It says login missing one required positional argument user. All right, and I think I know what's going on. We did not pass in requests, then user. So it will not know how to deal with this. Get back here, refresh the page. Let's fill this form one more time. Sign up. It creates an account and it says anonymous user object has no attribute meta. The only thing that might be causing this error over here might be because we don't have a field being imported correctly, or maybe being gotten from the HTML correctly. Let's review our code one more time. Full name, phone, email, password 1. All right, remember that the field is called password 1 and not just password. And let me confirm that to you guys. You can see that the password over here, the name is password 1 and this one is password 2. So instead of password 1, I just got password, just like that. There should be an error. Refresh this page one more time, fill all this up, and let's go ahead and create an account. And this should process, and as you can see, it says welcome back, then this weird looking username, and it shows logout. And when we visit our page over here, the users, you can see that we have that user over here. Okay, this is showing all this. You're already logged in because we don't have a system to show the filters yet. So it's showing that username and the user that just got created. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we already have all the features that we want laid out. Let's now go ahead and bring in the real template and actually make it work and function well. So the very first thing that I will do is open up my file, HMS tutorial. Remember that we've imported the static and the media files and other kind of stuff that we will be needing. But one thing that I want to do is go ahead and bring in the actual template itself that we need. So HMS tutorial, and I think we need the templates. Let me go ahead and get the templates. So as you can see, now I have the templates in here, front end templates. If I open that up, I can grab any of this that I need. So the very first thing that I want to do is over here in the templates, front end templates, I will go ahead and look for the index or the home page. There you go. This is the index. I will grab everything that is in the index and put it in my hotel HTML. Remove all this for now. We don't need it any longer. Just put all this in here. Okay. Now, if we refresh our home page, we should now see this. There you go. We need to make this look good. Now, the very first thing that we will do is in the template over here, I want you guys to create a new template, call it base.html. Actually, I want you guys to create a new folder, call it partials instead of base. Partials. And in the partials, I want you to create a new one and call it base.html. Now, before we start working with the base HTML, let's make the index HTML look good firstly. I want you guys to change up all this and put it in Django static tag like this. So all the CSS files, pull that out and create static files like this and put it in. So something like this. Now I will cut this out, create static file just like this and put it in. And I also have a Django extension for creating static files automatically. One is Auto Django. When you hit Shift Alt P, or I think that should be Shift Control P, then hit Auto Django, it should automatically create all the fields for you or all the tags for you without letting you do it yourself. Okay, so I'm trying to look for one of the H images file. Let's see if that actually worked. JPG, there you go. As you can see, this worked perfectly well, but it doesn't work in the CSS. There is something that I think it now works in the CSS. That is nice. Okay, it now works in the CSS, so we don't have to do that again manually. Now, if we get back here and refresh this page, okay, seems not to still be working. I will open up my page source and let's try opening up the CSS. Okay, there you go. As you can see, this is not working. It can't find any of these pages. Okay, so what might the problem be? And let's actually make sure and confirm that this is working well. In the static folder, we have a folder called CSS and we have another one that should be called style sheet CSS in there, but it's not still working. I think Django does not know how to navigate or get all those URLs. Let's open up the main HMS PRJ URLs PY, and this is where the issue should be coming from. So I want you guys to import a couple of things. Firstly, import from Django.conf, import settings. Okay. After Django.conf, import settings. I also want you to import Django.conf, the URL or configuration. Then conf the URLs dot static. I want you to import static. Now let's actually configure the URL to get all this. The first thing you want to say is URL patterns plus equals. Now we're trying to append something to the URL pattern that we just created over there at the top. Now we want to say static, and let's start off by appending. Remember the static URL that we created in the settings in the beginning of the video? This one over here. This one. Now we want to tell Django how to actually locate those URLs. Then I will say document underscore root should be equal to settings dot static root. So you guys should also get into your settings PY and make sure that this is actually named correctly, or there will be an issue. Duplicate this, and this one should be media URL. Remember, we also have that, and also we have media root, if I'm not mistaken. And let's allow our code to rerun itself one more time. Now, if we get back here and try opening up the CSS, okay, it still says page not found. That is because this, I think, needs to come over to /static before visiting the CSS file, but that is not working. So let's come over to static/CSS. See, when we manually pass that in, it works, but it doesn't work when we click on this. Let's close this page and refresh this one actually. Open this up one more time, open this up, still not working. So let's see what the issue is. Static URL, please, I want you guys to make sure that all this is correct. In the settings PY, one more time. This comes over to static, and this comes over to media. Let's see what could be going wrong here. This is static. Static root gets to static file. Static files des gets to this one over here, and same as the media. Let's see. in the hotel HTML, let's get all the way to the top. All right, there you go. That was the problem. I was actually working on another template entirely, which is not the main one that we are using. So in the hotel HTML, I want you guys to do the auto Django thing again. That was my bad. So fill all this up in one more time, and now you can see that it's bringing in all the static file, and all this should be working well. Okay, let's see. I think there is an issue here. We need to load Django static. So at the top, I want you guys to load static, refresh. There you go. This is now working well. Let me just comment out the preloader and reload this. There you go. This is now working perfectly well. We have everything that we need, but we are mostly interested in the register page. So for the register page, you could grab everything that we have over here, come over to the sign up page and paste it in. Okay, let's just get back here and refresh. Come over to /user/signup. We should have the same thing, but remember that we now have another template that is actually specifically made for the register. This one over here. You can copy this and put it in the sign up page, then do the auto Django thing so it fills everything up automatically. And let's preview this. Okay, after previewing, we still got this error, which means we need to go ahead and load static here at the top. Load static. Now let's preview it one more time. There you go. This is what we have. This is how our page is looking currently. So let's go ahead and change up all this to actually work with Django, and we should be done. Now we need to manually locate those fields. As you can see, the template seems not to be looking quite good. It seems like it's disarranged. I will go ahead and open up my tools over here and open up the HTML formatter tool. Paste my code and format so it's formatted to look good. There you go. This is now looking perfect. And for the form, I want you guys to go ahead and add in everything that we had. Firstly, remember we had a method. Okay, there is already a method over here. We could work with that. And remember we had this CSRF thing that prevents cross-site forgery. And I think that should be it. Let's get back here and refresh. We now need to go ahead and change up all this. So instead of the first one being username, remember it's called form. Now, if you reload this now, we should now have all our forms, but I still cannot find our forms. So what is the issue? Let me get rid of this, and just to confirm that this is the page that we should be working on. I will cut the form and put it out here and reload this page. Okay, this seems not to be showing up anything as far as the form is concerned. Or could that be because it's in tab 2? Right? You can see this display none. I think that doesn't make any sense. Let's get rid of that. Oh, yeah, that's the issue. We are working in tab 1. You see? Or rather, we are working in the sign in tab, which is not what's needed. My bad. Let's grab all this and let's search for the username. But this username, we want it to be in the register section, okay? Or actually, I will just go ahead and search for a register. And this is the form we're looking for over here. I need to make sure that I'm actually on the same page with this to prevent any error, or to prevent the page from actually not showing what we need. So we've got confirm password. We've got a placeholder email here, but the placeholder here shows username. So that doesn't make sense. I'm looking for the placeholder that shows username. I think this should be it. I think this should be it. You see this column over here? I will copy this and let's format the CSS. So you guys can search for the column that has the username. There you go. That has the sign up thing also. And paste this in here. Now, this is what we are looking for. Just this over here. Just this. Close this I want to be sure that that's what I'm looking for, format it, and everything should be working well. Now you could go ahead and remove every other thing that you don't need, like all the sections. If you don't need all this, you go ahead and get rid of them. Don't worry, I will be showing you guys how to work with template inheritance maybe in the next video, so we will see how all this works and how to get rid of the things that we do not need. I will copy this one now, and I could put it down here, and let's refresh this page. There you go. As you can see, we now have this looking pretty good, but I think we lost our sidebar. That doesn't make any sense. We need to get our sidebar back to the way it was. So I copied this one called MD12. Let me refresh this page one more time. Sign up. Hi, it's free. And this is what we have. We just also all the way to this section. Now every other thing down here I think should go. We don't need any of those things down there. You could leave them if you want, but I don't think I need them, so I will get rid of all this. There you go, everything is gone. We just have the sign up page, and yeah, I think we are good to go. Get rid of the clear fix too. Get rid of the one at the top. Don't worry, I'll show you guys how to work with template inheritance. Format your templates to make sure that it looks good. And now let's roll. I think we missed our page again. Let's see what's causing that. I think this is only the code that we need to format over here, so we avoid missing our page. I think we've got an issue with that. Let me bring. I don't know why we keep. Okay, there you go. We have it here again. Now I want you guys to edit only this one. If you don't want to edit, it's up to you, but this is just what I want to edit over here. This one. Reload this page. See, that's gone. We'll put this back in, and it should now work well. So hopefully you guys are following along with everything that's going on. What we're just trying to do now is just get the templates to work well. Okay, we just have only this and this. Now let's go ahead and fill all this form in. I want you guys to change this to a method of post. And for all those ones, class username, we don't need any of this. Let's now go ahead and pass in the CSRF token and call the form one more time like we've been trying to do. And now there you go. As you can see, we have full name, username, email, phone, and password. And we have this. Your password can be too similar and, you know, stuffs like that. But if you don't want to show up this in this over here that says your password can be too similar and things like that, then what you want to do is just go ahead and manually call this form data over here. For example, you can say form dot full name, just like this, and that should take in full name. You could go ahead and get rid of this one over here. Let me just call the form full name. Let's see how it works. There you go. So you can see it shows only enter full name. Now you could go ahead and get rid of all this. That is if you don't need them, which we obviously do not need. Then we have the full name, we have the email, we have the username, we have the phone, we have the password 1 and the password 2. And this over here should be type of submit, value should be register, form should have a CSRF token with a method of post. Now let's refresh this page. There you go. I want you guys to put up all the placeholders over here, okay? So that you can actually see things that are going on, like the full name, the email, the username, and things like that. Let me get back to my forms PY. I don't know if you guys have done this already, but I will go ahead and do this right now on my end. I will call this one user name. You can get rid of the classes if you want. I don't need this. There you go. Username. This one is email. Now this should be email field, okay? And it should still be text input. Then you could just call this email address. This one should be phone. Then you could say phone number or mobile number. This one is password 1. Now this should be a char field, but it should be a password input, okay, so that it's actually not visible. Now this should be password, and also password 2 should be confirm password. Now let's just ever reload one more time and let's run this. There you go. This is everything that we have. Now we fill this in and hit register. It creates a user. It returns us to the login page, not login, the home page, my bad. And when we check the database, we should now have a new user here. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys followed along with everything that happened. I know that one of the most complex part that we had to work with here was the template. But if you don't understand what happened, I want you guys to just rewind the video and follow it step by step. All we did was pretty much get the index HTML and also the sign up HTML, and we pretty much imported all the CSS, made them work in the template by using Auto Django plugin. And then we went ahead and changed up all the dummy field to inherit from our Django field and show the username, imputes the full name, imputes the password 1, password 2, mobile number and email address, and things like that. Hopefully you guys understood everything that went on. To make sure to drop a like on the video. If there is anything that you don't understand, drop a comment in the comment section below or shoot me a mail at desfix@gmail.com, and I will try my possible best to reply and help you out with any issues that you're having. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do make sure to drop a like, just like I said before. Your subscription will really mean a lot to me. Check out the courses in the description below. One of them should help you become a better Django developer. And until the next video, where we're going to go ahead and start working with login authentication. But love, peace out.